sprays the windows.
Hmm?
No,
No, we're not voting on anything, so you've got.
we have live mics.
Mhm.
No spraying.
We have live mics.
He got lots. We're just talking about painting houses.
Mhm.
That's all I do.
House is looking really nice.
Thank you, thank you. Vince has been busy.
Irrigation, that's exciting.
Yes,
I know we appreciate it.
it's all for Vince,
Something is a darn program.
right?
And then the backlight of the blue, I think it is.
Yes,
That looks good.
another Vince project. He has to have a project.
I'll call a meeting to order at 7:02. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So apparently, we've been having some problem with the laptop computer. They're working on it. We had microphones at first, and now we have video, so we should be okay. Roll call, please.
Trepannine,
Present?
McCanny,
Here.
Perkins,
Here.
Coxey,
Here,
DeSessa,
Here.
Cullis,
Here.
Murphy,
He is absent. Motion to excuse Josh Murphy.
support.
Motion by Cullis, support by Cuxey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval agenda. Chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
I'll second.
Motion by Turpinning, second by Perkins. Any discussion? None appearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the minutes from June 10th. Are there any additions or deletions to the minutes?
Feels like so long ago.
None appearing. The chair would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the minutes of June 10th.
Motion by Turpinning,
Support.
support by Cuxey. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Statement of purpose. The mission of the Holly Historic District Commission is to safeguard the heritage of the village of Holly by preserving the historic districts in the village that reflect elements of the village's history, architecture, archaeology, engineering, or culture. The goal of the Commission's work is to stabilize and improve property values in the historic districts and the surrounding areas, foster civic beauty, strengthen the local economy, and promote the use of the historic districts for the education, pleasure, and welfare of the citizens of Holly. We will move on to presentation. We have Nicole Edwards, her presentation on the CLG application status.
I brought my research.
Nicole, thank you for being with us this evening.
Sure. So,
Ms. Rankin Edwards, can you state your name and address for the record?
yes, Nicole Edwards. My address is 217 Cockshaw.
Thank you.
No problem. So I'll give you a little bit of information about how I got involved in this project. I purchased my home 5 years ago, and when I bought my home, it was listed by the assessor as being built in 1950. My dad was a residential builder. He built over 500 homes in Genesee County, and when I went downstairs in my basement, the lumber did not look like a house that had been built in 1950. So I wanted to know about my house because I was curious about it. It was dimensional lumber, it was rough sawn. I called the township, I called the village. They said, we don't have any records. They directed me to Oakland County, Joe Frost. Had a lovely conversation. Mr. Frost is now with MEDC. But he said, if you want to know more about your house, the first thing that you need to do is go down to the Register of Deeds in Oakland County, and you're going to go down to the basement to the records retention room, and you're going to look up the deeds to your house, and this is how you find them. And, you know, I looked into census records and other information and eventually found out that my home was built sometime around 1865. It was originally located where Kari's house currently is. It was moved in 1902, and it was actually divided in half. So I only have half of the original house, and the other half is at the other end of the block. So that's really how I got involved in this project, was looking into the history of my own home. Of course, I was excited and I shared about it, and then people knew that I knew how to do historic property research. I was asked to sit on the Historic District Commission. I was asked by Mr. Cullis as well as Mr. Walker to look into the Certified Local Government Program for our community. So I've been working on this project for the last 3 years. Compiling the necessary information that we would need to move forward with this project. Part of that project includes resurveying the district, expanding the boundary lines, and you know, just revisiting the survey that was completed, I believe, in 1978 or 1993. We do have 2 historic districts, which you know, District 1 and District 2. One is comprised mainly of residential, and then we have the commercial corridor downtown. Our commercial area is on the National Historic Register of Historic Places, as well as our depot and the Holly Hotel. So we do, of course, have a lot of history in the community, which you all know because you're on the Historic District Commission. So was, you know, asked to look into the project. I believe that it is incredibly important to our community, which is why I've continued to work on it for the last 3 or 4 years. I have no monetary gain whatsoever from putting all this effort into this project, but after I was asked, I definitely became convinced that it was a project worthy for our community to take on. And so I've continued to work diligently to make this happen. Every year, the federal government gives the state of Michigan millions of dollars towards historic preservation. And the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, sets aside 10% of that money, and it is designated to be given to certified local governments. There are only 31 local governments in the state of Michigan. So it's millions of dollars with low barrier as far as competition goes. And we have some huge projects in our community. We have the depot that we want to move. We have the surveying project that still hasn't been completed. We have parks. The township has projects. We have a lot of things that we want to get done in this community, which we cannot do without money. So that's why I continued to work on this project. When I started, there was these 2 manuals, which I have read both of them. They are the Manual for Historic Architectural Surveys in Michigan and Everything You Need to Know About Local Historic Districts. Since then, they have published a second manual, which is about this big, which I have also read, about how to conduct surveys in the state of Michigan. Originally, this was the Certified Local Government Program application, what you needed to do. They have since done another one, which I have read. I have compiled every single meeting minute in regards to the survey, the resurveying of our historic district. And the project goes back to 2015 when it was originally initiated within council. A final report was submitted in 2016 by that commission chair, and it really has stalled out as far as moving anything forward. Additionally, there's been the Mill Pond Historic District that was presented to council, and nothing ever happened with this. And I know that recently there was a push to save that historic property as well, and it did get demolished. Without moving forward on these projects, we'll continue to see our historic district erode. So I implore you to tell people about the project, encourage them to finish the paperwork of it so that we can submit it. This is the actual application. I printed out a copy. It's currently 53 pages long. It has all the information. I've been in contact with Alan Higgins. He is our SHPO contact person. Once I submit the final application to him, it'll take about a month for it to go through, and then we will be able to apply for grants when they're released to the community, to the state.
What's the next steps for that application?
Jerry Walker needs to get me the rest of the information I asked for.
What do
And
you
I
need?
need,
Yeah, what do you need?
so I need, Ms. Tom McKinney signed on Tuesday night the letter of engagement that has to go to the, as part of the thing. One of the, I'm gonna sidetrack for a second. One of the other things that needed to be done was our ordinance needed to be updated. So within the community, our previous historic district ordinance was fine. It was enforceable, it was allowable, there was no reason that we couldn't continue to operate with, underneath that. However, Public Act 169 is the enabling legislation from the state of Michigan that allows the state to recognize our historic district. So our ordinance needed to be in compliance with PA 169. It took me a year and a half to get that to go to ordinance committee and finally be approved. So I do have the official signed ordinance. The remaining items that I need is identify how the local government sought to identify qualified individuals for the Historic District Commission. It's a series of checkboxes. It's really easy information, but I don't know, and I don't want to guess on how, do you talk to local historic organizations? Do they post it at the office? Is it on the website? Do they put something in the newspaper? That kind of information. There's a resume for each HDC member. I believe that I'm still short two. Jeremy is going to scan the ones that he has and email them to me. So as soon as I have those, I do need to contact Ron Campbell because he is our person. He's our registered architect. So I'll make sure and get that from him. I need copies of notices, correspondence, or posting illustrating how the local government sought to identify qualified individuals as described above. So I need the actual notices that they fulfilled the positions and how they sought those out. A conflict of interest policy for the HDC. We have a code of ethics policy that I've included in the application. I don't know if that's enough or if we need a conflict of interest specific policy for the HDC. But I can't answer that question. And then the other item I need, local government website identifies who to contact for the information on the HDC and the procedures. If anybody were to go to the website today, Carr, your name is not on it. There's some member that was appointed in 2020, but I don't know who it is. And I believe, Mike McCanny, your email is the only contact information. So there's nobody
Wacky.
currently to contact if they have any questions about the Historic District Commission.
So that would be the
Well,
village.
my email
That would
is
be the
right.
village,
You
and
can
I've
contact
provided
me.
all of this information to Jerry. I actually emailed Jerry 5 or 6 weeks ago with very detailed instructions about this is exactly what I need to be able to complete this. I let him know that I've already been in communication with the state, and that I'm, just waiting on the handful of things, which I've received most of them, and I know that I'm probably the only person that has this as such a high priority on the list of things to do. But I just want to get this done. I've been working on this long enough. And I was asked to do it, and
It's important.
it's so important. It's
And
millions of dollars
There
that
is a lot of
we,
work that goes into this. There were two ladies at the state level, and I think one's retired and the other one's shifted. Who are the names that we deal with now?
at the,
Ellen
Shippo.
Thackeray and
Ellen
Mallory
Thackeray is
Bauer.
gone, and was it
So we
Mary
have
Bauer?
Oh, I'll tell you what her name is.
Mallory Bauer.
She just came.
No, it didn't,
Mallory just left.
she just left.
Yeah, so Alan Higgins is our specific contact person for the application part of it. And I've been taking care of things with him.
Okay.
I also currently sit on the planning committee for the Michigan Historic Preservation Network's conference that will be here in May. Sure, you know about it, it'll be held at your building.
Janet Kreger, she's one of the girls,
Yep.
right? Okay.
And then I work with Shohan, with MHPN, and I know
Yeah.
that they're closely tied to SHPO.
But
I
there's-
haven't been given a list of the replacements of
do you-
the people
do you
that
know
have
where
taken.
Ellen, I think Ellen just moved to a different title, didn't she? Ellen
think so.
Thackeray?
It's possible, I,
Okay, I'll have to look into it.
yeah. The other thing I need is a copy of standard public participation policies for committees and or commissions showing compliance with the Open Meetings Act and Freedom of Information Act. I did share with Jerry, many of you know I work for the Village of Oxford, I'm the communications liaison. Our village is currently working on the redevelopment ready, ends with the CRRC committee. And I authored our public policy, so I shared that with Mr. Walker. However, in Oxford, we don't have a historic district commission, so that portion is missing from, you know, kind of what they're looking for that. I think that's it. It really is small items that I need. It's not huge things. So, does anybody have any questions?
Can you give us a list of what you need so we can help facilitate finalizing that list?
Yeah,
I
she's
would be
already
happy to,
created the
so
list.
I can,
Okay.
yeah, I emailed it to Jerry and
I believe it's in your
George,
packets.
and,
It should be the last page in your packets is the copy of the email that was sent to staff
is
from,
that the one?
Oh,
Right
here it
here.
is, sorry.
Yeah,
My bad.
so, section A is taken care of, I don't need that, I don't need section B, I need C, E, any additional goals? So the two goals that I have on the end of the application, one is moving the depot, and then the other one is, working on redistricting. We'll be able to apply for a grant to help with the survey portion of the, you know, that part of the project. But does the HDC have any additional goals that they would like to see us, apply for grant money for, or undertake, or am I missing anything?
So just to update for a couple of the commissioners that maybe haven't been here. I can't tell you how many years I've been on the HDC, but it goes back to Jeff Miller, when he was village president. Jeff has passed on. I think that's 5 or 6 presidents ago. When I came on the HDC, we started working with the boundaries, and we had some residents come in and complain about their house being in the HDC and the houses across the street weren't in the HDC, and we started to look at the boundaries, and based on the Secretary of the Interior standards, we were having trouble understanding why the boundaries were where they were. We had an opportunity to interview Earth Reagan, who was still alive then. She was one of the original creators of the HDC district, along with Joe Mishler, who is still with us. And we had an opportunity to have a discussion with the two of them as to how it got put together. We then went to Lansing and met with Ellen Thackeray and Bauer.
Mallory Valley,
Mallory? No, before Mallory Bauer, not,
There was another person
Yep.
before Mallory.
yeah.
and I
don't
can't,
have it correct.
I can see her and I can't think of her name. Anyway, we met with them and we determined that we needed to do more work on the district.
Is it Laura Ashley?
Pardon?
Laura Ashley?
No. Anyway, so we did more, that we needed to do more work, so we came back, with the grace of the village council under Jeff Miller. We were given permission to set up a committee. The committee had to be void of commissioners, so it had to be outside volunteers. That committee was headed by,
Sue West.
Sue Less, Denise Davidson was on that, Marlo Davidson was on that, Linda Smith was on that. There was a group of people, I think the list was 10 to 12 names long. And they worked for 2 years. They had to go out in the neighborhood and photograph and do historic background, so the Historical Society was involved. And they had to put together the redistricting, and we have those maps. And then When Steve McGee was the oversight for the Historic District Commission, the commission actually toured those properties and those boundaries, and we talked about where we felt that there needed to be some adjustment, and we got that approved, and then we moved to the next stage, which is when Nicole was on the commission, and that's the work that remains to be done now, am I correct? As far as the history of the homes and the sections?
Oh, the survey of the homes?
Yeah.
Well, so outside of doing all of this research, I've spent the last 3-4 years just researching general Holly history. Carrie's been to my house. I have a file cabinet
The
full.
war room.
I have a file cabinet full of stuff as well as 1 million documents on my computer. I've been down to the Bentley Historic Library. I've read Governor Crapo's personal letters to his son. I've been to the State of Michigan Library.
We researched.
Which I have personally enjoyed. I mean, I can't take myself seriously sometimes for the amount of research that I've done. I don't know why I'm so curious. I do not have a degree in this.
Yet.
Are you know something? I mean, do you have some money available to pay for that education?
So, but we've researched, she's researched the pickle houses,
Yes.
some of the
We
different,
don't have pickle
properties.
houses.
yeah, so, but just some of the myths and
Yeah.
stories that were out there we've worked on.
And that's something that I enjoy that part of it,
But
is
some
that
of the,
there's
some of these
urban.
monies through the GLC will help to finish some of that. work.
Yeah, like, and I'd like to be able to see all of the research. I'd like to be able to see it shared with the community. We are 17 years from now, we are coming up on the 200-year, the bicentennial anniversary for the creation of the township. And I can tell you, it is incredibly difficult to find anything about people that were here in the 1830s. You know, it's like picking pepper out of salt. It's, you know, and
Well, the state wasn't very old then,
Right.
so there
it
weren't
was,
a lot
yeah,
of established.
it was a year old then. But, you know, even, I mean, America wasn't that old then either. But people did preserve things, they saved stuff. I mean, the museum has a handful. I mean, I think we have like 5 to 10 Bibles that have family genealogies recorded in there. I mean, it's fantastic to touch pieces of paper from, you know, the 1860s and look at old deeds. And but if we don't save it, it's gone. And not only that, it is our opportunity to connect people to our community. I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Grambling. And I happened to fall in Holly because I was asked to join the Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know all of these stories. I mean, people tell me stuff and I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I know you've been hearing that your entire life, but for me, it's all new. And we're gonna have a lot of new families that are gonna continue to move into our community. I have 2 children, I'm divorced, and they attend school in Linden. My ex-husband lives in the Lansing area. But I would say that they feel like Holly is their home. They know the chief of police, they know the old stories. They refuse to go to the cemetery with me anymore because they've been there enough times. But it has...
If I may interrupt you for a
Yes.
moment, speaking of the cemetery, we just recently received the quitclaim deed from the Pulte organization, or Silverman, depending on how you look at it. Holly Township Cemetery has acquired the piece of land on the northeast corner of the cemetery. There were some bodies that were buried outside of the current cemetery boundaries. They were found when some of the excavating was doing, when the Riverside homes got put in.
Oh, boy.
And it's taken us several years, and we actually did the old drive down and sit in somebody's office and become obnoxious. I didn't know I had that talent. And we got some signatures, but we received that paper, and we will be changing the fence line in the cemetery. Those graves are 1820s,
Wow.
21, 26. The papers we have that tell us the names are almost like Egyptian hieroglyphics to try to clarify, because it
I'll
looks
take a
like
look
they,
at them, Drew.
well, it looks like they've been copied, mimeographed and copied over the years.
Mhm.
But it's another piece of research that we're gonna start to set out to do on that. But now that we have the property, we'll be able to, fence that in, just another piece of the
It's
cemetery
not
type
easy work.
history.
No, it's not, and, you know, with, like I was saying with my kids, they feel connected to this community, even though they live in 3 different communities. This feels like home to them, so, you know, the daughter of a builder, I've moved over 30 times in my life, and I can tell you, I don't ever wanna move out of the house that I live in right now, because I don't wanna move again. But I know everybody that ever owned my house. I know who lived there, I know what they did, I know who they were married to, I know how many kids they have, so I have a.
Is that just your half or the whole house?
Good question.
You know what, George, there's probably very few homes in the community that I couldn't tell you something about at this point.
No, but I'm saying, I was
I know
reiterating
everybody
the
that
fact
lived in both halves of my house.
That's what I meant, because
I got a
you've
good
got half
story
the
on my
house.
The man who built my home had the Hickory Dairy across the street,
Oh, yeah.
and in about 1920, maybe even earlier than that, his wife was killed on the corner of Elm and Saginaw in a carriage accident. He raised 5 daughters there by himself. The carriage house is the little gray shack next door to me where my daughter lives. In 1930, when his eldest daughter got married, he converted that into a home for her. And so throughout all those years, they had a shared driveway and a shared garage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the people who lived next door had a couple of too many adult beverages one day, and a branch had fallen on their side of the garage. As opposed to repairing it, they took a chainsaw to it and cut the garage in half. So I have 1/2 of a 2-car garage at the end of my driveway. Well, they also put up a fence which severed the right of usage. They didn't think that too. So we had an ongoing land battle for years, but through adverse possession, it's now my property.
Yeah.
But I was cleaning, we did some remodeling, and I found a ton of stuff from the original owners up in the attic. I was at Holly Foods one day, and there was this very old guy. We started chatting, and he said, "My wife was born in your house." And I said, and I named off the names of the daughters. He's like, and he told me, I said, "I found a bunch of her schoolwork and little paper dolls and things that she had when she was a little girl." I said, "Come over to the house and take it." And he took it. The guy came for years after that. "Did you find anything else?" You know, it's just cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's fantastic when you find stuff. I found a wadded up piece of newspaper from 1872 shoved in the corner of my wall. And I found a 1953 Girl Scout wrapper. And, you know, I mean, my home really does not have any of the architectural character that a home from my era would have. You know, it has vinyl siding. I'm not surprised that the assessor listed it as being built in 1950. It is the assessor's purview to make the decision about when a home was built, so they made the best guess that they could. So it's, I forgot where I was going.
It's your passion.
It's,
Your
no,
passion.
it hasn't been a whole bunch of misery working on this project. I have loved it and pursued it passionately, and you know, I hope that my passion inspires all of you to be as excited, or, you know, a little bit excited about seeing what's possible for our community.
So, one of the reasons I asked Nicole to make this presentation tonight was so that the board would become more familiar with the work that she's doing, so that we know what's going on. I think she deserves an opportunity to talk about the project,
Absolutely.
as other people in the community want to know. I think it's important that we have some of those answers when people are talking to us, as she's pointed out. The whole goal in the redistricting and the CLG was to get more organization into our HDC, and is to bring more value to the commission, which will in turn bring more value to the district.
And to the community as a whole.
Yeah, I know, and as you talk about stories and the remodeling stories and so forth that goes on, I know McCanny's have a great story about finding things as we were pulling up carpet in one of the rooms, and it was carpet from like the 1920s. We found the padding was old newspapers that were almost perfectly preserved
Almost perfect.
in many cases. And some of those pages are now in an art portfolio, like you store artwork to protect the pages, to open it. But it tells a story of the houses, and it tells the years.
Well, and without me having done all of the research that I've done, nobody would ever know that my house used to be located on your property and split in half, because there is zero history in my home. There is no beautiful trim work that, you know, was installed by an artisan of that time. There's no more plaster, it's all drywall. There's none of that. Chris and I have
You did
worked.
find some interesting wood underneath in this
Oh,
last
yes,
project.
I found, we found wood that was installed in our home, from the 1960s. It was milled out in Arizona. It's Ponderosa pine. It has the original stamp on it. So, and we've done everything that we could to bring some of the character back to the home. Our home was much significantly larger, obviously, because we have a half of a house. And when it was relocated in 1902, it was meant to be an average man, a working class home. And so we've maintained those types of features throughout the home with craftsman style trim work and very, you know, clean. And we've reused a lot of things. So, but again, if somebody didn't push to keep my house having natural, you know, the original siding at some point, the story would be gone. And that's possible for any of you that live in a historic home if the district isn't protected.
Sure.
So does anybody have any more questions for her? Jeremy,
Sir,
You're welcome.
you've got the list of what we need. You'll be helping Nicole complete.
Did you get my
Yes.
resume?
it is my,
He said
it
that
is
Mr.
my
Cullis and
supervisor
Mr.
that has that
Mulcahy.
list, so I will,
I emailed
do
it.
my best. I mean, he is my supervisor and the village manager, so
Jerry Walker.
I can only do so much.
I'm working on his house next
council.
week. I'll need
Tom,
him.
Tom McKinney. is,
Need
you
it.
know,
This is
The
important.
council.
The council, yep, oversees this, and, you know, there have been repeated opportunities where the historic district has presented to the council, and they have not taken action on, you know, your requests and your wishes. There have been times that the council has asked things of you, and you've presented those things, and they haven't taken action on it, so,
If they didn't have a liaison like me.
they didn't.
My family has been in the state before Michigan was Michigan. We came to America in 1539. We've been in Michigan since 1760-ish. So,
Yeah. So
the city of Romeo was developed by my family.
My family used to own, Staten Island, where, you know, New York City is, so,
See,
I mean-
we go back.
we go back.
all right. So all right. Well, thank you for your presentation.
You're welcome. You're
Um,
welcome. I will provide Jeremy and you also with the most recent version of the CLG program, so you can.
If you could give us, in the form of an email, I know
Yes,
you
I
went
can.
over it briefly tonight, an update of what your, well, doggone it, where'd I put it? It's over here, page 2. What's left?
Yes, I would be happy. I will send you
'Cause
an
you have
email.
some of the
I
stuff-
don't, because Mike's the only email that's listed on.
Well, we'll get that fixed too.
Yeah, so you probably have to forward it to all the commissioners.
Lisa, do you need a list of email addresses from everybody tonight? Okay. I'm just checking, because when she said there's
I've
only one
received
on.
email.
You did?
I
Yeah.
updated mine today
Okay.
because it was misspelled, so that's.
Is that what the
Yeah,
problem was?
they left off the C,
Oh,
Kari C,
Okay.
that's all. it
well,
was.
because like I said, I told you, when I looked at it, it appeared as though you had gotten it.
Right, no, I didn't get it, that's why I
Okay.
just got this today.
All right, so, all right, thank you.
Super. And if nobody minds, I'm gonna head out. I've got a hot date with my 14-year-old to watch the show tonight.
Then again,
Thursday
thank
night
you
football?
for your help.
Breaking Bad.
Okay,
George,
So-
is there gonna be expansion of the district?
Thank you, Nicole.
yes,
You're very welcome. It's nice to be appreciated.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yep.
you know what we might want to do, the question was asked from Commissioner Perkins, Councilman Perkins, if there was going to be an expansion of the district.
You know, there's been talk about it.
How
for
many of you
years,
have
but
seen that map, or how many of you have not seen those maps?
I saw it on the bus tour.
So you were on the bus tour.
I was, unforgettable
The
bus tour,
infamous John
sorry.
Love.
almost died on that bus.
Sorry.
That was a
To it.
time.
Okay, so perhaps what we'll do for the next meeting is, let's get those maps and bring them in so that the current commission can review those.
I have not seen those maps either, so I'll have to do some research.
There's a couple of big ones.
I have a,
Between Steve McGee and Jerry Walker, they should know where they are.
It's basically expanding it so it's a larger envelope, not the hit and miss houses, correct?
Right. What they,
It's more contiguous.
what they did back in the 80s and 90s
have a lovely evening, everyone.
was
Here's
Thank
one.
Thank you.
a group of people went out and, under the direction of Ardith Reagan, they went through the neighborhood and they got people that volunteered to be in the historic district. And then they put the districts together. And she mentioned that we have 2 historic districts, but the truth is, I think they're actually labeled as in 3 parts, are they not?
2 parts.
Is it? I thought there were 3 parts on that. Okay. So, but there are 2, now, when you say 2 parts, are you talking about 1 part residential and the downtown being the other?
Mhm.
Okay, I think if you look at the residential, you'll see the list is in 3 parts.
I have to look at it at least once a week, due to being the building inspector and code enforcement. And coming to that point, I have trouble with the new map that you're discussing, because inside that overlay district, we're gonna have several homes that are non-contributing homes.
Yes, but that's okay.
Well, how do we do, as an enforcement officer and as a building inspector, I have to firsthand deal with these people. And when I come to their
Well,
door,
because the completed list will have a list of addresses within the district that fall under non-conforming.
So they'll be exempt.
So those are exempt.
Yeah.
A great example, is the house behind Dick Roselle's house. When you drive by it, it looks like an old house. It's kind of a seafoam green.
Mhm.
That house burned and was rebuilt. Mr. McCanny and I went out there.
1954.
They came, no, it's 74.
Oh, it was 74?
Yeah, they came before the HDC, and we went out and looked at it, and I said, this house is non-conforming, and you knew that by the foundation.
Mhm.
We knocked on the door, talked to the homeowner. That house had burned and been rebuilt, so it qualifies as not conforming,
It's not contributing.
or non-contributing, I'm sorry. There's also a house next to McCanny's house, the Red Brick Ranch on Maple
Yeah,
Street.
the original house there burned.
That original house burned, somebody came back and built the ranch that's there, and that house is in the historic district, but it's not contributing. Now, the interesting thing is it's coming up on the age where it could be considered contributing,
50 years.
because it's been there for 50 years, but it would be contributing under mid-century modern, as opposed to Victorian, Italianate, Greek revival, so on and so forth, but that's a whole different area. But to answer your question, Mr. Watson, when that list is complete, it will also have a list of addresses that are non-contributing. So
I think it's important, as I was gonna say, that we notify the public of this, because
Oh,
99% of the people in the village of Holly have no idea, 1, that their home is historic, or B, it's not historic. So when I come knocking on the door after they've already performed work, they are very upset, first of all, that they were not informed or educated that their property is historic.
we'll
Is it
have to,
supposed to be full disclosure? That's state law.
well,
That wouldn't come from us, that would come from the Realtor Association, I would assume.
We talked
So-
about it at one point,
hold
sorry.
on, time out. So, Josh Murphy is the one that was working on that. We'll have to bring that up with him the next time. He was working with the Real Estate Association to get that added to their list of
Okay.
correct, you know, those sheets that have the check boxes. And we also worked with the village, and it was if I remember correctly, we were supposed to send out letters to everybody in the historic district. Cause what are they close?
There's a lot of 109, 110.
It's 3 pages, and then it's
Yeah.
1 page.
I counted them all.
All right. Just, I'm making notes here.
That's in my other book.
I have it here.
Now, how does it work like with property splits? Because like the house that sits behind Kyrie's once upon a time was part of your property, wasn't it?
Right.
I'm not counting.
The historic district is based on addresses. And for an example, when they did the historic district downtown,
Mhm.
I think what somebody did was went and listed all the addresses on Saginaw, came up Battle Alley around the corner.
And
The
forgot. it.
building that Zach Morris just redid,
Mhm.
I think it just got missed.
Yeah,
Because it wasn't a part of the historic district based on the addresses, even though it should have been.
I know, I've been
And
hearing
that
from
building-
John Love for 2 years.
Well, that building
Sure.
can, but see, that's something that happened long before us.
Way before us.
That building can still be put in the historic district. Ron Campbell can explain how that is. There's a portion of it that's new,
Mhm.
but the facade, the face of it is still historic, which they didn't alter and protected. But, that's how that works. But I've got this, and
Going back to what Mr. Watson was saying, we talked about an education program of some sort to educate the public of, all right, this is our historic district, this is what it entails, this is this is the process if you're looking to make any
So-
changes.
how long have you been on the commission?
I don't know.
Oh.
COVID has wiped my brain all the time.
Pre-COVID?
Yes.
Okay, so pre-COVID, we were working on 4 public town meeting type forums where we would have Q&A and some basic format to explain what the historic does, what its values are. We were gonna do those, like you said, COVID shut all that stuff down.
This is my first in-person meeting, so I think I
Okay.
came in during COVID.
So the other part was that we were in the process of putting together a newsletter. We did have one training on Windows, did we not?
Yes.
Prior to me.
Huh?
Prior to me?
No. Since you've been, didn't we have we had a workshop above Andy's.
I was
Oh,
asked to
yes,
come,
yeah,
but-
yes, I was there.
I thought you were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
We
understand.
had, so we were working on that, and then COVID and everything kind of fell apart. So I'm making notes here of the things that we wanted to do. Because one of them was we had talked about a quarterly newsletter that would have information in it for people in the historic district on different projects within their house, such as windows, restoration, of those
Siding,
different
et cetera.
projects. Pardon?
Siding,
Yeah.
roof.
So, and an opportunity for the public to understand that the HDC isn't the big ugly control what you do to your house type of thing.
Right.
That there are
That's me.
guidelines. I'm sorry,
No, that's me.
what?
The
Big ugly?
The big ugly guy that says that.
Yeah, but the HDC doesn't have to be that. It's just a matter of education. And that's what.
And
we're
some
doing.
people still will argue that, but
Well, but
it's really,
anybody,
we try to educate.
Sure.
any of us that are in the public, as an elected official, or those of you that are appointed, I don't care what I do, I always know there's gonna be somebody not happy.
10% rule.
I'm here for the betterment of the community as a whole, and
10%, that's it?
It was 5.
that's a good day. That's a good day.
Boy, I've been doing much better than that lately.
I thought it was only one person in
Depends on the day, so, anyway.
there.
All right,
just
well, I've
one
got a list
person
of
every
notes
day.
to make. Let's, we don't have any public comment. Old business, other resumes, we've collected those. We don't have any new business. Let's do commission and staff comments. Mr. Turpin, we'll start over here.
I'm fine, I don't have.
Okay, Mr. McCanny?
Oh, I'm good.
No report on your house? We'd love to hear some details.
It looks great, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I love how you did the multicolor. It's
The front part.
gorgeous.
So we buttoned up the last window on the Clarence Street side. I did 15 shingle repairs, and then it's got 4 coats of paint, 2 coats of primer, and 2 coats of color.
When he says shingle repair, he's not talking roof. He's talking fish scale shingles
Sure.
on the side of that bay window.
Yeah. So I cut them out by hand and then cut the pieces like jigsaw puzzles, and
If you get a chance, drive by, look close, get out, walk around.
it's pretty cool.
Maybell and the chickens will entertain you and greet you.
You have a house that has similar, just a couple houses down from you, Clarence, right? With the same kind of,
The fish scale,
yeah, the fish scale.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
there's-
down Clarence.
there's several of those in town.
Yeah.
One on Maple, one on Washington.
I wonder how many have that and
The
don't
scales
know.
on my house were all covered in asbestos.
Oh,
Yeah, well, Mike's entire bay window was squared off. It was just a box.
Yeah.
And that's one of those times where the historic district is effective in helping to preserve these homes. We got, in their project, no, they didn't go back to the original lap siding, but we got rid of all the steel siding from 1957, the 8-inch wide, the vertical run as opposed to horizontal. Yes, we went back to vinyl siding, but it's the 4-inch, so it gives it the original look. And we picked up all the accoutrements around the windows, the porches, the bay window is back, and it gives it an added value, which I'm sure the assessor will take note of.
I'm sure we're gonna be punished for it, yes.
So, anyway,
But I'll have to indicate that it is a private property.
yeah. I just invited him to stop and take a look.
Come on by. It's still private property. It's not being used for any commercial business or gain.
Right. Okay. Mr. DeSessa.
Nothing, thanks.
Kari?
What do you
Or
want?
Miss Cuxey, sorry.
You want to hear about the house? I don't have any other comments. Otherwise, I'd ask my
Well,
questions.
go ahead and share a couple of good morsels on the house.
Oh, we're in the middle of finishing up an irrigation system for Vince because he's out watering all the roses constantly, flowers. So they're putting that in. Obviously, we put up the fence, which was fantastic because I'm just so paranoid about having a toddler out in the yard and just kind of want to keep her corralled. So finally got the gates in, finally got the gates in the driveway working, or at least one working, and then Vince went a little hog wild on the pillars, the posts that
I
are
saw those with
flanking
They
the
look good.
gates. Oh my gosh.
the
it was
big
like-
copper spires.
yeah, they're crazy. But they look great. It's a nice addition to the house. Just like really gives it a statement. We love it. We're super comfortable there. We have to do some repair on the roof here soon. We're just waiting for the contractor to come and take a peek at it. We've had tons of rain this season, right? I mean, last summer,
So you know where every leak is.
oh my gosh. Last summer, it only rained literally one weekend. And how do I know that? Because it was COVID and we were outside in tents for weddings, so I knew when it rained. So it's been raining nonstop. So we've got to do a little bit of repairs. It's not crazy leaks, but water's going to find somewhere to go. So we've got a couple locations. Considering we feel pretty good that there's only a couple spots where it's coming through. So
That's good news on a roof of that age.
yes. So he did. Dave, the previous owner, kept a lot of those clay roof tiles. So we do have a stock of those to get in there. But I think it's more some flashing to get in there and just do a little bit of repairs around there for the leakage. But
We might have to have one of our HDC commission meetings from your house.
maybe to come take a tour. After I get through the busy season, I can clean up and figure it out. So we had a little sewer issue as well.
When this meeting's over, don't leave. I have a couple of pictures I need to show you
Okay.
that I've forgotten about until you start talking about your house.
Okay. They're gonna dig up the yard on Saturday by the road.
That's where all the flags were before, right?
Yeah. Well, they were for the irrigation, but then for the dig up too, we have a sewer situation. So luckily, it only backed up a little bit. I was like, "Did you pour a bucket of dirt in this laundry sink? What's going on?" And luckily, we caught it. So there was a big giant mound of wipes blocking the line. So we got lucky to catch it before winter.
Good.
So
Mr. Perkins?
anyway,
I have nothing, sir.
Okay. Mr. Watson
No comment, thank you.
and Lisa?
No comment.
Okay. Then there's nothing left except to say we are adjourned at 7:49. Let me get the,
I took my wife a few weekends ago.
we still have live mics.
Yeah.
Push your button.
Turn your mics off.
Gotcha. And, we went out to, where's the cemetery?
George's.
I have,
Who is it? My gosh. Answer it.